We found a wooden sign pointing to a place that wasn't on any map. It stood just beyond the break in the trail, where the undergrowth thickened and the light thinned into something gray and uncertain. The sign had been driven into the earth at an angle, as if the ground itself had shifted after it was placed. It was a rough plank, split along its grain, the edges splintered but not rotted, too sharp, too fresh in places, too worn in others. The arrow carved into it pointed deeper into the forest. Beneath the arrow was a word. None of us recognized it. It wasn't any language I knew, not quite. The letters bent in ways that felt wrong, like they'd been remembered imperfectly and then carved by hand. Some strokes were deep and deliberate. Others barely scratched the surface, as if the carver had hesitated. "Someone's messing around," Daniel said, though his voice carried less conviction than the words suggested. I checked my phone. No signal. The GPS map froze as it tried to load the surrounding trails, then snapped back to a blank grid. Just the faint outline of the path we'd already walked. "No listing," I said. "Nothing out here." The forest pressed in around us, silent except for a low, continuous hum that I hadn't noticed until then. It wasn't wind. It didn't move through the trees. It sat beneath everything, like a held breath. "Shouldn't be here," Mia murmured. No one disagreed. We should have turned back. Instead, Daniel stepped off the trail. The forest swallowed him almost immediately. The brush parted with a dry, reluctant whisper, branches catching at his jacket, pulling slightly as if testing him. He glanced back once, then motioned for us to follow. I hesitated, looking again at the sign. The wood felt cold when I touched it. Not the coolness of shade, but something deeper, as if it had never known warmth. My fingers brushed over the carved word. For a moment I thought I felt it shift. Not physically, not quite, just a flicker of something beneath the surface, like the grooves weren't as fixed as they should be. I pulled my hand away. We followed him. The path, if it could be called that, was barely visible. The ground dipped and rose unpredictably, roots twisting up through the soil like bones. The trees grew closer together the deeper we went, their trunks narrowing, stretching upward in unnatural proportions. Their bark was dark and slick in places, catching what little light filtered through the canopy. The hum deepened, pressed against my ears until I couldn't tell if I was hearing it or feeling it. "Do you hear that?" I asked. No one answered. Ahead, Daniel slowed. "Listen." We stopped. The forest had gone completely still. No insects, no leaves shifting. Even the hum faded, thinning into nothing. And then, "Hey!" The voice came from behind us. Clear, familiar. Mia turned first. "What?" But no one was there. The voice came again, closer this time. "Wait up." It was Daniel's voice, except Daniel was standing in front of us. He went rigid. I didn't. "Wait up." The third time it came from the trees to our left. A figure moved between the trunks, just a glimpse of shape, of motion, something stepping carefully, deliberately. It stopped when we looked directly at it. "Stop," Daniel said, though I wasn't sure if he meant us or whatever was out there. The figure stepped again. It moved like him. Same height, same gait, but wrong in the details. The limbs seemed to hesitate before completing each motion, as if the idea of walking was being assembled in real time. "Wait up," it said again. Mia grabbed my arm. "We need to go back." We turned. The path was gone. There was no break in the undergrowth. No sign of where we'd come from. Just more trees, more of that oppressive gray light filtering through the canopy. "That's not possible," I said, but the words felt thin. The forest shifted. Not visibly, not in a way I could point to, but the space around us changed. The distances between the trees stretched and compressed, subtly rearranging. The ground sloped where it hadn't before. Behind us, the thing in the trees took another step. "Wait up." Daniel backed away from it, breathing hard. "It's copying me." "No," Mia whispered. "It's learning you." The hum returned, louder now, threaded with something else. A low, uneven whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It brushed against the edges of words, almost forming them, then slipping away. We moved again, deeper, because there was nowhere else to go. The sign appeared ahead of us. The same sign, same angle, same split wood. But the word beneath the arrow had changed. I knew it had. I couldn't remember what it had been before, but this wasn't it. The letters looked closer now to something I almost understood, as if they were adjusting, trying to meet me halfway. The arrow still pointed forward. "Did we circle back?" Daniel asked. "No," I said. The ground behind us shifted with a soft, grinding sound. We turned. The trees were closer, much closer. Their trunks leaned inward, forming a rough corridor that hadn't been there moments before. The forest was closing. A branch snapped somewhere to our right, then another to our left. The sound moved around us, fast, deliberate, like something circling just out of sight. "Wait up," the voice said again, now directly behind me. I didn't turn. It was too close, too accurate. My own voice. I could hear the breath in it, the slight catch at the end of the words that I'd never noticed until it was mirrored back at me. "Wait up." The ground dipped suddenly, and we stumbled forward into a clearing. At its center stood another sign, larger this time, older, or newer. It was impossible to tell. Dozens of arrows branched off from its post, each pointing in a different direction, each marked with those same shifting, uncertain letters. The air here was colder. The hum was gone. In its place was silence so complete it felt solid, pressing against my skin. "This isn't a trail," Mia said softly. "No," I agreed. The forest responded. The trees at the edge of the clearing leaned inward, their branches creaking as they moved. The shadows beneath them thickened, stretching toward us like reaching hands. One of the arrows on the central sign turned. I saw it happen. The wood twisted, fibers grinding softly, until the arrow pointed directly at me. The word beneath it shifted. This time I understood it. My name. Behind me, something stepped into the clearing. "Wait up," it said, in my voice perfectly. I turned. It was me. Not quite. The proportions were slightly off. The eyes too still, too focused. The mouth held the shape of my expression a fraction too long, like a reflection delayed. It smiled. The forest tightened. Branches snapped inward, sealing the edges of the clearing. The other signs at the perimeter leaned, their arrows all shifting, all turning, aligning toward us. Toward me. The ground beneath my feet felt soft, unstable, as if it might give way. "Don't move," Daniel said, but his voice sounded distant, muffled, like it was coming from far away. The thing that looked like me took a step closer. I stepped back. The ground sank slightly under my weight. The arrows creaked, adjusting again. Always pointing, always finding me. "Wait up," it said, and this time there was something else in the voice. A depth that didn't belong to any human throat. The forest exhaled. The hum returned, louder than before, filling the clearing, drowning out everything else. The trees leaned closer, their bark splitting in thin, vertical lines that resembled closed eyes. Watching, waiting, I ran. I don't remember choosing a direction. I just moved, pushing through the trees as they shifted around me, branches scraping my arms, roots catching at my feet. The voices followed. Mine, Daniel's, Mia's, all calling out, overlapping, urging me to stop, to wait, to come back. The ground sloped upward, then down, then flattened abruptly. And then, the trail. Clear, defined, exactly where it should have been. I stumbled onto it, gasping, the forest behind me falling silent once more. I turned. There was no clearing, no signs, no shifting trees, just the dense, unmoving forest. My phone buzzed in my hand. Signal. The map loaded instantly. The trail marked cleanly, nothing unusual, nothing out of place. No uncharted paths, no hidden locations, no signs. I stood there for a long time listening. There was no hum, no voices, just the faint rustle of leaves in a normal, ordinary wind. Eventually, I started walking, back the way we came, alone. I don't know how long it took before I saw it again. The wooden sign, standing just off the trail, angled slightly as if it had always been there. The arrow pointed into the forest. The word beneath it looked almost familiar now, almost readable. As I passed, my phone buzzed again. The map flickered. For a second, just a second, a new path appeared, branching off where the sign stood, leading somewhere unnamed. Then it vanished. From the trees, something shifted. A voice, soft and patient, called after me. "Wait up." Something kept knocking on the trees in a rhythm that matched our footsteps. First, it was easy to ignore. A dull, hollow tap carried faintly through the forest, spaced too unevenly to feel deliberate. 2 knocks, then silence. Then another farther off. It blended into the background, something you notice once and then forget. We kept walking. The trail was narrow and poorly defined, swallowed in places by roots and damp leaves. The canopy pressed low, filtering the light into a dim, green-gray haze that flattened distance and dulled sound. Even our voices felt absorbed before they could travel. Then the knocking came again. 3 steps. Knock. For steps. Knock. Knock. I slowed without meaning to. "You hear it," Eli said quietly. "Yeah." We didn't stop yet. The forest had gone unnaturally still. No insects, no wind, no distant movement, just our footfalls and that measured, hollow knocking threading itself between them. 5 steps. Knock. 5 steps. Knock. I stopped. The knocking didn't. Knock. 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 It continued in perfect sequence, carrying forward the rhythm I had just made, as if my movement had written something into the trees that they were now repeating. A cold tension settled in my chest. "That's not." "Don't," Eli said quickly. "Don't say it out loud." We started walking again. The knocking adjusted immediately. Short steps. Knock. Short steps. Knock. Closer now. Sharper. Less like something natural, more like something choosing where and when to strike. Branches brushed against us as we moved, dragging lightly across our sleeves and faces. Some bent too far, following our motion for a second too long before snapping back. The forest felt tighter, like it was paying attention. We picked up the pace. The knocking followed. 3 quick steps. Knock. 3 quick steps. Knock. Perfect. No delay. No drift. It learned instantly. The sound deepened, too. Each knock carried a weight that seemed to travel through the ground as much as the air, a dull impact that I could feel faintly in my legs. "Stop," Eli said. I did. The knocking didn't. Knock. 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 Faster now. Urgent. Still matching the rhythm we had just made, even though we stood motionless. "Why is it still going?" I asked. The next knock came from directly ahead. We looked. A tree stood a few meters in front of us, darker than the others, its bark stretched in strange patterns, smooth in long vertical strips, then ridged and knotted around them. It looked worn but not aged. Used. Knock. The trunk shifted inward slightly, then settled. The sound had come from inside it. Eli took a step back. "No." Knock. Something struck the interior again. Measured. Intentional. Matching us. "Move," I said. We stepped off the trail. The forest resisted immediately. Branches caught at us harder, snagging sleeves and straps, tugging with a dry insistence. The ground dipped unevenly, forcing us to slow, to correct, to break our stride. Behind us, knock. The rhythm shifted. Now it matched our uneven movement. A stumble. Knock. Correction. Knock. Too precise. Too aware. We pushed deeper between the trees. They grew closer together, their trunks rising higher and thinner, bending slightly inward like they were listening. The knocking spread. Not just one source anymore. Multiple. Different tones, different distances, all trying to align. Knock. 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 Surrounding us. It's not one thing, Eli said. I didn't answer, because it felt worse than that. It felt like the forest itself had started repeating us. We slowed again, forced by the terrain. The knocking slowed with us. Step, knock, step, knock. Closer. I could feel it now. A faint vibration traveling up through my boots. Don't stop, I said. Eli didn't respond. I took another step before realizing he wasn't beside me. I turned. He stood a few meters back, staring at a tree. Knock. The sound came from directly in front of his face. The bark pressed inward slightly, then released, like something pushing from within. Eli, I said. He didn't move. Knock. His breathing shifted. Short, controlled. In time. Eli, don't. He stepped forward. Knock. Another step. Knock. Perfect. I moved toward him, but the forest reacted instantly. Branches dropped in front of me, weaving together, tightening into a barrier. I pushed against them, but they flexed without breaking, holding just enough to slow me. Eli. He didn't look back. He stepped closer to the tree. Knock. His hand lifted. Knock. He pressed his palm against the bark. The knocking stopped. Everything stopped. The silence was immediate and heavy, pressing in from all sides until it felt like the air itself had thickened. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, knock, from inside the tree again. Softer, deeper, as if whatever was making the sound had shifted further inward. Eli exhaled slowly, and then he knocked back. Once, the forest reacted. Every tree around us shuddered at the same time, a ripple moving through them. Branches trembling, trunks bending slightly, leaves shifting without a sound. Then, knock, everywhere, perfectly synchronized. His rhythm, copied, expanded. Eli's expression softened. It's responding. No, I said. It's remembering. The knocking grew louder, closer. The trees leaned inward, narrowing the space between them. Eli took a step forward. Knock. The forest answered. Step. Knock. Step. Knock. He moved deeper between the trees. I forced my way through the branches and followed, because the space behind us had already shifted, closing the path we came from. Because standing still felt worse. We walked. The rhythm guided us. Steady. Unbroken. At some point, I realized I wasn't choosing my steps anymore. Even when I tried to slow, my feet corrected. Step. Knock. Step. Knock. Perfect. The forest had taken the pattern. I was just following it. The knocking surrounded us again, no longer scattered, no longer searching. Unified. One rhythm. Ours. Or what used to be ours. Eli, I said. No answer. I looked beside me. He wasn't there. I hadn't seen him leave. There was no sound of him moving away. Just empty space and trees pressing close. The knocking didn't change. Step. Knock. Step. Knock. Kept my pace exactly, as if nothing had been lost. The light thinned further, draining into a flat gray that erased depth and distance. The air grew colder, sharper, each breath visible for a moment before fading. I stopped. The knocking didn't. Step. Knock. Step. Knock. Continuing the rhythm I had just set. From ahead. From behind. From inside the trees. I didn't move. The knocking kept going. Precise. Patient. Unbroken. Then, slowly, my foot lifted. Not because I chose to, but because the rhythm demanded it. Step. Knock. I followed. There was no trail anymore. No direction. Just the pattern. Just the sound. It didn't matter where it led. Only that it continued. And somewhere deeper in the forest, beyond the reach of what little light remained, something adjusted again. Matching me. Keeping perfect time. Waiting for the moment I forgot which steps were mine, so it could keep walking, even after I didn't.